Hey, Lauri, we're back. I'm ready for you, I think.
Yeah, yeah, you are, darling. It's fine. I am very glad that you are such an open heart to share your journey with so many. Initially, I just wanted to lay down a really brief foundation about energy and how to feel it, and how when you and I are working today together, how when you feel it, that will be the beginning of some more awareness for you and how to let it go.
Oh,
Um, it's a very small piece of what I do on a bigger scale. If you work with me, I'll actually give you many, many tools and platforms and awarenesses. But I would like to just set the energy of vibe is vibe is vibe, Spirit says. So thoughts and feelings are downloaded from your higher self for your itinerary.
hmm.
So you have an itinerary and you're like, well, I'd like to go to England or I'd like to go to Japan. So you have maybe some markings on the way, but that doesn't mean you can't take different roads. It's sort of just an idea of where you're going to travel to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. And so as you go along your trip, whatever you have packed for your journey, you sort of dig around in the bag as you travel through thought and feeling, and something will show up at the top of the bag to get your attention about whether you should keep it in the bag or throw it out the door, right?
Ah,
So low vibe would relate to feelings that leave you contracted in your being, because it's a game. Did you hear me?
yeah.
All the world's a stage, people. Illusion. It's a game of enlightenment. So energy, we agreed to create more light through a game of enlightenment, energy, and more light. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So desire is actually a word in resonant energy of.
Ah,
And that's why I prefer it over wanting, because wanting always makes you feel a little tight, doesn't it?
yeah. And
Yeah, I just
spirits.
said if you
And
just
spirits.
feel the difference between those two words, well, there's guidance right there.
Yeah.
But we're so busy thinking and then believing the idea, because beliefs are just ideas that have been thought again and again and again. And so then we all collectively agreed to them. So we all agreed that the sun's going to come up, the sun's going to set, there's oceans. We all agreed to it. So we brought it collectively to form. Does that resonate?
Mhm.
So, in regards to some sticky wickets, what we'd like to do is just set a little energy in getting grounded for a moment, because you've had a little busyness, it feels like. I say little because I like to be light. But let us just intend that we all have a crystal at the center of the planet with our soul signature. We've been here, we've traveled here. It's sort of like our marker on the wall. Like that's where we happen to put our energy on the grid of the planet. There's a crystalline grid of light on the planet. And so if you'll just picture that you have a switch called your heart, and you're just going to open that up with intention. It's always about intention and attention. So I was listening to a program the other day, and a woman said, hocus pocus focus. And I thought, well, that's the ticket.
That's adorable.
That's the magic. So whatever you're focused on, even if it's that story that you don't like, you're actually making more of it, because unconditional means just that. It means 100%. Yep. Yes, yes, yes. All that is inclusive, never exclusive. We make the condition. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you'll intend that you can flip your switch on and now it's shining up like the Hollywood light, and you could picture it like that Star Trek 2 from back in my day, Caroline. I was like, yeah, I'd like to go into that too. Thank you.
I was Star Trek 1, Lauri.
Yeah, well, I don't mean to date myself because we're like, it's fine. But let us just intend to be in a column of light from the center of the planet. And if you'll just notice that your shoulders have just a little bit of barometric pressure on them. Energy is when you push and pull your hands together, it feels like space, but you can't touch it, like two batteries opposing each other, or two magnets, excuse me, opposing each other. That's what energy feels like. That's why I always share with people who work with me, I'm going to be your happy reminder. Archangel Michael calls me Glenda the Good Witch, because I'm always just like, hey, Dorothy, would you like your wand? hey, heaven's here, you got to be here. So if we could just intend that we're filling up that column, and it's going to come all the way up through our being, filling us up like a push pop from back in the day. Yeah, I love a good ice cream push pop. So just push that energy with intention right up to the heavens, and you don't have to direct it. It knows where its home is.
Yeah.
And draw that same energy down, almost like plugging in an outlet with your feet. Just hold that intention that your feet are that long. And take a breath in and out, and just see your heart feel safe to open up and expand that light all around you like a bubble without edges.
It's wide open.
How's that feel? A little,
Yeah.
brilliant. Brilliant. So within that, that's step one, because now you're in the planet, but not of the planet. So you know you've brought consciousness to the planet, but you know you're past the planet. Does that resonate with you? Perfect. Perfect. So Spirit's actually leading the show, but we wanted to talk about a son for you. And there's some worry going on, and this will help many mothers. And I'm a mother of 2 grown boys, and I will assure you that no matter how much I worry, they don't listen to that, right? In fact, it actually sends out a message, because we're all one energy having individual perceptions of itself. Like source is the frame of the mirror. We're the reflection of creation back to all that is. And personas are fragments that look fractured, but when you shine light, it makes a prism of more light. Right. So for a while, I was worrying about my son all the time, and he came up to me. He's like, "Mom, you've got to cut it out." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Because every time you hug me, you make me think I'm going to die." So I was sending him a message unknowingly through my feelings, because that's how vibration works. It's a feeling. Whatever feeling creates emotion, energy, emotion creates dominant frequency. So if you're always beating a drum of worry, guilt, shame, regret, well, source says, oh, you must want to have more of that creation. Well, rock on, I'll bring it. And then you're wondering why things are disheveled or going to pieces around you, but it's because you're putting your focus on the opposite end of the spectrum rather than the lighter end of the spectrum. All is fine to create in. You can create any density or light. The third plane is a great dimension for that, because it's the platform of allowance for that. But when you intend to be a higher frequency, you naturally elevate your form, because you're embodying your energy into those higher frequencies, the 4th plane, the 5th plane, and they all have a lot more light. They're not as contracted. It's like taking the tornado and bringing it all the way down. Same energy, but less bandwidth. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ms. Caroline, what comes up initially is you have a new baby called this, actually. That's what Spirit's bringing up.
Okay.
Any good mother, you want to ensure that you are nourishing everyone that comes forward. Be it the practitioners or those who will work with the practitioners. And so you're watching the pot. That's what Spirit says. You're watching it with an eagle eye rather than allowing its natural, organic unfoldment, which within everything, every single experience is a blessing. It is our purview or expectation or judgment that compartmentalizes the love that's within everything. Does that resonate with you?
One more time, please.
What you're doing through this mothering is allocating certain energies to the idea of the right way, which is ultimately control.
Yeah.
With intention. So if we were in our full knowing of, well, my heart's desire is this is a platform that fulfills all who receive it in any manner. Well, that's source. Source would say that. But if you are in a human perspective of it, you would say, well, I really desire, or I really need came first. I threw in the desire. I really need a checklist. blank, 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 blank. That's not so trusting because it's actually allowing you, it gives precedence to the mind's idea of perfection when nothing is anything less than perfect exactly as it is. Because if we allow the perfectness of the moment, then it will always lead to more fulfillment. But if we dissect the moment, then we're compartmentalizing Source's idea of perfection, when if we just allowed the unfoldment without the doubt, without the worry, without the mistrust that we'll have to judge ourselves as less than that perfection. Does that make sense to you? Like in your field, you have had to handle a lot since the beginning.
Yes.
Yes. You did not have the nurturing that would automatically give you that platform of, I know no matter what, I'm safe.
No.
Zero.
None of that.
And I would not say that that's not because of love. I would say that's because of the distortion of the illusion being separate from love. Does that resonate?
Yes, yes, yes.
Because I would never say that your upbringing was without love. That would be an untruth. But I would say that the idea that love was something over there versus always here led you to look for it, because it didn't seem present when you were awakening to the moment.
Yep.
Throughout your experience. 7 years old is a big trip for you. 7 is like sort of blows the doors off for you. Does that resonate with you at 7 years old?
Yeah, I don't get.
Well, could I ask you not to think about it and see what memory pops into your head?
It's the 7 that's getting me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you're 7, do you find that you are the one that's looking out for someone's well-being rather than someone looking out for your well-being?
Yes.
Ding. I always feel like,
that's it.
Yes, and that is because it's a sort of Jekyll Hyde gig. Like whoever is in your presence, and I'm just not sharing. I get who is there, but I just don't. I prefer not to for your benefit. That experience with your loved one left you feeling uncertain that anybody would take care of something, because in one moment it was lucid, in the next moment it was hallucinatory.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, what's the truth? What's the truth? What's the truth?
Yeah.
So, but that actually goes far back into your lineage. And it's interesting, the way I see it in another experience, another time for you, not incarnate as Carolyn, because we bring cellular memories to release. You had an experience, they bring up paupers, like, paupers, P-A-U-P-E-R-S.
Yeah.
You were a pauper, and imagine like one day the lady of the house was a kind lady, and the next day she didn't give you any bread.
Yeah.
And so do you see how like that was an experience, but that led you to distrust that love was your resource?
Oh yeah. And I think that was probably through many lifetimes.
Yeah. And when I speak to you about that, honey, because I like to take a temperature check in your body, because your body is your barometer. It's like the light on your dashboard. It lets you know where you're holding old energy, and old energy always feels contracted or tight.
Yeah.
Or has some uncomfortable feeling to it. It's not easy flowing, right? So when I say that about your experience, and I link it to the experience of the early 1900s is what I get. Do you feel that energy in your back and in your left hip a little bit, that little tightness?
I feel it in my core.
Good. Yeah, so you felt disempowered. So I just like people to check that. Now we're going to go in with your permission and change that energy with you, if that's okay.
Happily, thank you.
Yay! And I do sort of I do work in the Akashic record, and that's just the record of your soul, which is every particle of you until now, and then always, because it's eternal. Now in eternity is all connected to that record. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah.
So I don't do a lot of rigmarole when I work with people. I just go to the energy. I just change the energy. I don't do a lot of process. I don't like candles. I don't do anything but we're source and let's handle it. What do you say?
I love that.
Yeah. There's no ritual required. Do you see how I'm already snapping off energy? And this is just one of the ways that I just naturally do energy.
Yeah.
come to me like from the get-go. As soon as I opened up, sort of that old knowing of me already, it was just there.
Yeah.
Everybody has those attributes in various forms, and part of the work I do is sussing them out and giving them that knowing so they can go and rock the planet in any way they desire and support and contribute, because they're in joy, and that contributes as well because then they know that other things are possible, because they'll start to see where they are creating. That's so exciting for me. So let's go right into your Akashic record, because I believe you did just give me your free will. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. So we're going to go in and we're actually going to delete, transmute, transform, and transcend all programs running that you are unsafe, that you cannot be heard, that your say doesn't matter. And that if you don't say, something arduous or detrimental will befall you. So I'm going to transmute that out of your field. And we're going to integrate and activate in the DNA and cellular structure the program of truth, which is you are aligned, you are receiving, you are in joy, and you are capable of all. Is that all right for you? And in expressing that, you are able to go forward like a maverick of light, recognizing that you are not responsible for others' response. Is that all right?
Yes.
Well, then, thank you, so be it, and so it is.
Thank you so much.
I see you traveling a bit. Are you going to travel again? It's coming in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 days, too.
I hope so.
Do you want to go south somehow? South?
South. I want to move back to Charleston, South Carolina.
Thank you. I got that. And I kind of feel like Georgia, though. What's your idea of Georgia?
Charleston, Savannah, that area.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. I got Georgia.
Yeah. Maybe Georgia. Georgia could work. I like Savannah.
Yeah, I really, the hit I get on Charleston is there's some kind of saturation that you will not appreciate. It's almost like Georgia has a slower roll to it. And Charleston has a lot of new energies. And so the new energies, Spirit's saying that you're not quite hip to more energy, like en masse. Does that make sense? Like it feels like there's a lot of energy around you already. And so,
Lauri, I was just thinking about that very thing. Like Charleston is just such crazy busyness, and maybe I need to look outside.
Well, they know you. Brilliant. Yeah, I could see that in the spring. I think you're going to nest through the winter because you have quite a bit on your plate, but I think by the end of February is what I get.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be delightful. And they're showing a boat. I don't know that you necessarily go boating, but something about that's been in your field because I'm picking it up.
I love to sail. And
yeah, they bring up boating. And I think that climate would suit you more because I live in Maine, and we've just had a bit of snow. And while I'm a Maine girl through and through, and I can muck about in it, and I don't let it weigh me down. I'm all right. I'd be all right if we had fall through winter. It'd be fine. And I'm sure most people would feel that way. But I think that would suit your nature, because this is another thing that comes up. And I'm glad that you're open to share it, because Spirit's saying you have an idea about well-being. And you have an idea that if I were here, then I would do this, and that would contribute more to my well-being, like be outside more, right?
Yeah.
But we'd like to say it's not really about being outside or inside. Beingness is a state of perception. So people who walk and are active are generally enjoying more of their experience than people who are huddled up thinking there's nothing more to experience.
Oh, sure. So
it's a shift in perception rather than substance. Does that resonate with you?
It does.
Yes, it's always about perception, because your perception creates the feeling creates the vibe, the dominant vibe creates a radio station called your next experience in form. So if you're sending out a lot of mixed vibe, you're getting static, and you're not focused on that which you desire to experience, because your mind is telling you an old story of previous information, not possible information.
Oh, very cool. Right.
Yes. So, and they're also saying to me that you can let go a bit more, meaning like, don't feel as though everything is your task.
Okay.
And I'd like to say this about it. The reason we say this, my dear, is it's a false value that registers as, and the reason I say it's a false value, it's not an intended, you're not intentionally going, well, I'm all that in a slice of white bread, but it's a behavior, a defense mechanism to prove your own worth to you. But if you are all that is in expression, I believe that's handled.
Yeah, it would be.
And we have been taught no pain, no gain, but really it's only
that I never understood, but yeah.
It's quite ridiculous to us from our point of view. We just don't get it. Although I want to speak for my human self for a moment. I'm not anybody's guru. I'm another soul in a journey called a way shower who's creating her own experience so that I can share through my experience that I've already walked in that. And let me give you an easier ride.
Yeah. I'm through the muck.
You don't have to slock about so much, schlepping, you know? So, so this idea of handling and fixing is an outdated modality that served us throughout human evolution, but it's well past its sell-by date. Source is the source. Source is your supply. And when I learned to hand it over, and I do it through a question, right? Ask and it's given. Of this you shall do and more. Dog love, unconditional. The beauty that surrounds us, we're so busy being entrained by ideas that we're not able to see the moment where everything is still beautiful.
Oh, sure.
And when we allow ourselves to surrender that someone a little bit bigger than us, perhaps, call it the label you like, nature, source, God, all that is, it's all the same to me, because for me, dog elimination or diamonds, same thing, same energy. Everything for me is the same energy, except that I've purviewed it in an idea that it meant this.
Right.
But what if we didn't know? What if we didn't know all the words for a dog? We'd still know what a dog was, wouldn't we?
Right, exactly.
You know, so that essence knows the essence. And when we learn to trust that we didn't hang the stars, we made the stars with other stars. And within that, we can reach the stars. That's what Spirit just said.
Aww.
Aren't they awesome?
They're
It's like
awesome.
your best pals. Like I'm grateful to share. I recently was working with a client, and I came down to this downstairs and where other people were, and the lady was saying, "Hey, wasn't that great?" And then the reason she said that, she's like, "It's like talking to Spirit like your best girlfriend." Terrific. And I'll be your best boyfriend. I don't really
whatever.
whatever that suits you is fine by me. But I'm grateful that because they're really joyful, and when I get a chance to allow another to have that same dialogue or exchange through their own means, that's the best gift I feel like I can give anybody, because it's not about me, it's about your divinity and your relationship to your divinity, and how when you recognize that divinity is all that is within you, well then sky's the limit or beyond. Yes?
Yeah.
So, Carolyn, would you like to do a little practice with that?
Sure, let's do
Try
it.
that on? So fun. So I always like people to, we get a little like high vibe. And so when that happens, you might feel a little airy fairy or a little ungrounded. Mother Mary came to me recently, and she was really big in my energy, and I was like floating off my chair, it felt like. I had to get grounded again. So I always encourage right? Encourage beings to be grounded on a regular basis, because if you think about that, if you were to rush a high voltage through a circuit breaker and it wasn't grounded, it would blow the fuse, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's what we're doing when we're adding high vibe. We're getting grounded so that it's dispersed. Does that make sense? So in your mind's eye, sweetness, I always like to start, I know you're clairvoyant. You're also very empathetic. Empathy is not my favorite idea, because everybody feels. That's why when people are like, "Oh, you're so psychic," or "Oh, I'm such a feeler," well, good. But don't feel my stuff. Only feel your stuff, because if you feel my stuff and you feel bad for me, or then if you're going to feel good for me, okay, that's a easier vibe.
Yeah, but then it's my stuff.
Bad for me, you're taking your precious life force energy and spending it on a vibe that doesn't bring you your desire. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Yeah. So in your mind's eye, Sweetness, because you are clairvoyant, what is the first color that you see?
Blue.
Thank you. Blue shows up a lot. And it's a wave of energy that we're working within for evolution. Archangel Michael, again, that label is an energy that facilitates that, but it's a timeline, a wave that we've agreed to be ambassadors of light within. So since I've spoken about the AAM a few times, and you see how I'm kind of just like not full of reverence, because I don't do that. How could equanimity be true if I was revering someone? Will I appreciate my soulmate? Sure. Will I appreciate my siblings? Sure. But what are the odds that I'm going to make my little brother greater than me? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
My point, a lot of people get tripped up in that dogma, but there's no such thing. It's all source. And you are, by the grace of source, having the expression as Caroline this one time.
Right.
And next time you'll be somebody else fabulous or something.
Right. Somebody.
So the Archangel Michael would like to speak directly to you. Isn't that going to be exciting?
Yes.
Oh, don't get verklempt. I just felt it in your throat. It's not that big a deal, he says.
Okay, whatever then.
Yeah, blah, blah. First word that pops into your head is what?
Happy.
There you go. Next thing that pops in.
Love.
And what does the Archangel Michael say to you about this platform you're conspiring in, he says?
On the right path.
Yes, conspiring. Wasn't that a cool word?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like connected inspiration. I like to break down words because if we became more aware of what we said, we wouldn't say it on autopilot. Many, many people say want, need, lack constantly, and lack is abundant, but it's just focusing abundance on not receiving. But everything's still abundant.
Conspire, of course. I know this isn't me. I mean, it's yeah.
And do you see, I would like to say that it's people have created for a myriad of reasons in growth and expansion that there's some kind of difficulty to being your natural self. Well, you said it's coming quickly, but your natural self would be that fluid. Your natural self would be a soul. So when would a soul not be telepathically connected to the energy of everything? It would be a never, right?
Right.
So there's no hoop jumping. There's only a desire to stop and receive. So if you ever try to think of somebody's name, you won't be able to do it till you stop, and then it'll pop in. You'll be like, oh, that's their name.
Finding the key, same thing. Yes.
That's guidance. And that's why I teach a practice of mindfulness and give you awareness of your misperceptions of your own truth. Not my truth, honey. Everybody's got their own truth. That's why you got a particular name.
Right.
You could rock your individual fingerprint and contribute to the expansion of all that is. Isn't that delightful?
It is.
Yeah. So do you have any head questions? I like to give people head questions as well. Let's go back to Archangel Michael for 1 second. I just feel him over here. That's why I keep
We'll pay attention.
He brings up the name James, and he's going to give you a message about James. Could you tell me what you're receiving right now, what pops in?
He's going to be okay, and he will be off on his own.
Thank you. And did you see that we had started our conversation with that idea of speaking about him, and then we sort of went on a different tack with you? If you watch the recording, you'll see that we brought up your son the very first thing, and then we flipped it to this offering to sort of the energies are the same now. That's why he brought James, then I brought it to the platform, but the information was the same of letting go of the idea that you ultimately can impact anybody else's show but your own.
Yeah. Okay.
Because do you have any power to think his thoughts or feel his feelings?
No.
You could hold up a mirror and give him encouragement. I was speaking to a woman recently who was talking about a little small person. And I said, no matter how small they are, just like when I was 4, they already know what they're doing. And this woman had kind of lost it with her kid and was feeling bad. I'm like, hey, Everybody's had that moment. That's the moment where you are disconnected and in total reaction or alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is distance and always creates resistance.
Right.
So presence is now. There's no distance between you and I now because we're present. But if I was having a tangent in my head about our conversation or about what's going to happen next week or blah, 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 well, that's going to create resistance because then I'm on astral travel, which is bilocating, right? You bilocate your energy when you put it someplace else.
Right.
Does that resonate?
Yeah. Yeah.
And look at you getting your guidance. Isn't that great? And how quick was that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We've tapped into something. How exciting.
I
thought we would. Spirit says much more to come, beloved, and we are celebrating your magnificent allowance of this mind-blowing, because this path has been blowing your mind for 6 months, 6 years, 6. They give it to me.
Oh, 6 years. 6 years.
So for 6 years, every day you wake up, you're like, well, so she feels really solid today, but I don't know what's going to happen because my life is so surreal. And we say, thank goodness.
That's the word, surreal. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So,
and it's 6 months and 6 years. It's funny. It's both.
Yes. Because the birth of this was about 6.
Mm.
6. June. I get June.
June.
Yeah. How exciting is that?
Yeah. Well, June was when the book came out, and holistic, and then walking. Yeah. A lot of 6s. That's right.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes if a 6 keeps reoccurring, like I'm on a 7th cycle right now, on a 7 cycle. So I see a lot of 7s. So when you're processing a particular part of your itinerary, you'll see a pattern of a certain theme that you're moving through, and then that goes to bed. I don't want to dissuade people, but once you sign up for the trip, you're in, because going backwards is really hard after.
Yeah.
I think they trick us in with the law of attraction and treasure, and then we're in.
I think so too. I agree with you. That's how The Secret started all this.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's so funny. I was awakened before The Secret, and my baby sister was not awakened. And I was like, well, check it. I'm not really a wackadoo because it's on Oprah.
It's good.
She's like, well, it's got to be something to it. But it took her 7 years to sort of come to it.
Yeah.
She came to it through a catalyst of dis-ease.
Oh.
Dis-ease is always just discordant, heavy energy that's blocking your natural life force energy, which would always be in flow and fulfillment.
Mm.
So we're not making light of, we are, excuse us, delete. We're not indicating that dis-ease is not something that when manifested could create some challenge, but we're saying the challenge is one of divinity. And when you remember that divinity, then you are the master of all that comes to form. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're really doing through Ascension, is remembering how to use our wands as source.
Right, remembering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any head questions, sweetie? Like about who's coming, what's going to go on, how's my holiday, any of that? Because we do all things, and we could dial up any soul that you'd like to talk to.
Okay, so yes. So thank you, Michael. What's coming?
I'm sorry?
What's coming?
Oh, what's coming? Much more. That's the first thing I got, much more. Well, well, I see that by the spring, your platform is you're going to build a house. So you put in the stakes to pour the concrete. By the spring, the concrete is poured and drying. So there's a curing time for concrete.
Yeah.
That will be through the summer. And then by next fall, it's going to seem like a whole other lifetime that this wasn't always.
Wow.
Because I actually see, and I think I said this when we've talked before, I see the platform not being just a one note. I see it having many songs in many areas. And it's just a beginning offering to draw those beings from all areas.
Yeah.
Because you are a gatherer. I think I've said that to you before.
Yeah.
And the gatherers hold the container and then fill them up with all the lights as much as possible. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah.
So your heart is a magnet to beings like me because you're in alignment with, I would say, I don't want to speak for other energies, but for my energy, you're in alignment with my desire. I don't desire to ever contribute to anything but more fulfillment for people. And because you have that same desire, we are a good match.
Yeah.
And I would say I've met many through our conferences, many of the beings who are joining, I felt so aligned with them because they are too operating that fashion. And I think as you can attest to, not everyone is working without that filter because there's still fear in some areas, but you are picking the cream of the crop so that when people are ready to find people for their own awakening, they perhaps won't go through those steps that you and I might have taken where we got mixed.
Yes, that's the biggest part of it is the authenticity in all of the practitioners. You've got to be way up there because I want real for anybody that comes. Real.
And I'd like to speak to people who are maybe not practicing that way. We're not saying that's a detriment or a wrongness or not enoughness. We're saying there are easier avenues, and we as a collective are creating an easier road. Some people like to take a bumpy ride, and so they may choose to read with people who are maybe going to reflect that bumpiness to them.
Yeah.
I remember when I was coming up and I was in some fear, I would call up like a big conglomerate reading, just get a quick phone reading. But it always matched my fear. So the message was filtered. It wasn't about the reader. I picked a reader that was going to mirror my density.
Yes. Yes.
And so Spirit wants me to give a little caveat to that. They're saying I would not allow that in my practice. Like my vibration isn't at a level where your stuff could get in my way.
I get that about you, Lauri. That's a beautiful thing.
I'm grateful that's the case. One of the reasons I didn't read for a long time, even though I had been awakened, having a lot of conversations with Spirit, is we all as readers have a great fear because we've lived many eons in this particular essence of our soul, that we weren't always the quote unquote good guys. And we don't really like that phrase.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But we've all played every role too, because Source just desires the experience. There isn't a wrongness. Whatever the experience is created more.
Right.
Does it resonate with you? So, but we have those old memories of maybe causing detriment to others, and so we get a little shut down. But I can assure you that when I work with someone, we would only set the intention that from this now moment forward, and I'll set it with you because you're opened up, and I think we said it in the past, which is probably why I didn't set it again, that you only always receive the highest and best guidance for the highest and best good for all. Thank you. So be it, and so it is.
So be it.
Yeah. Great. Very exciting. And what I like to recommend, and I do recommend this to all of my beings that I get the privilege to co-create with, because I feel this is a co-creative exchange, because we are creating as we are getting guidance. I like, now that you know that your guidance is that instant, that now, this, I like everybody to practice. And you may not know what your gifts are, but I do. Not because of me, but because we're pretty hooked up. But I like people to begin that communication of rebuilding the trust relationship with all that is in spirit form, and to request that you keep a notebook about questions that have no emotion to them, like watching Wheel of Fortune. You know, who cares who's going to win Wheel of Fortune unless you're playing it yourself, right? But you could just ask them, all right, who's going to win? And or if you say red, blue, yellow, whatever the color is, they'll give you a color. And then you keep a little notebook, and then you can go back and go, well, I am not a crazy lunatic. Look what's happening. Like, you're a little wackadoo, and it's okay. It's surreal than to buy reality, because reality is a box of limitation. That's all it is. And you know, can I go to reality though? It's resonant energy aligned in love. Or limitation, up to you.
Yeah. Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
It really is.
Yeah. And they just wanted to say lastly, I guess they have one last note. They say, it is our greatest pleasure to be amongst you in the awareness that we have never left you.
Oh.
Celebrate your recognition of your valuable light as it mingles with the others as we all travail to more.
Wow.
Yeah, they're kind of cool.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, thank you, Lauri. You are amazing.
Oh, well, right back at you, girlie, because you just did what I did. And I tell you, the more you're willing to receive, I knew since I was 4 I was going to be a teacher. I used to be that daydreaming kid wondering what I was going to do.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I was kind of on my own because being not on my own was a little tricky. I'd be in my own little land, and it was called Airhead a lot, or Looney Lauri, and that's just because I wasn't here. I was like, you people in your density, I just don't think I can.
I'm much happier where I am.
Be over there. So within that, though, I knew I was going to be a teacher since I was 4. I gave school a go, but it wasn't my shine.
Yeah.
But I am a great teacher because I am a great teacher of how creation happens, how it's very incremental, and how it's every moment. And you can start in each now moment to change the way life's going to show up for you in those future moments. And it's easy in truth, but it is always. And that is my caveat to people. You will have to remember that you can't put your show on somebody else. You have to direct the play.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I love you. I'm so happy to see you. Many
I know. Right back at you, honey. Thank you so much. You're awesome.
Be well. Be well.
Thank you.
I'll see you next week. Bye, sweetness.